In the previous step, we created a basic asset server to host our card widget. Now let's look one more time how the code for assets looks like. Here's the code that we need to put into a HTML page to enable our card widget. And our card widget is supposed to be used by other sites, and they should be able to embed our card widget in their pages. And forcing them to copy and paste such huge amount of code isn't very good. So we need to somehow simplify all this code. I'd like to, the style is outside of, we don't care about it right now. So I'd like to simplify this code and leave instead only this line of code. And in order to do that, we need to somehow load all this stuff dynamically. And we will do it in our card.js. So right now it's just a code from our mockup, very basic. So let's update it and load all those resources dynamically. I already did it, so I just copy and paste code here. And later we will review it. And now I'd like to remove all those resources and check if it works or not. So let's check it. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because there is no jQuery. In the previous version we loaded jQuery. Loaded jQuery in this line, and at this time the jQuery will be already available. But right now we load it dynamically, and there is no jQuery at this moment. So I also forgot one more, I think. Right now it works. So let's review how our code for dynamic loading looks like. And so this is just a boilerplate code. Take note this line. As soon as our widget should be embedded in a variety of different sites, some of those sites might have jQuery already loaded, some of them might be not. So we need to decide if is there jQuery or not, and if jQuery already available, we should not load it, and if there is no jQuery, we should load it. So right now we just create our local variable jQuery and assign it as a null. Here's later comes a bunch of different low level helpers. It's just ignore this stuff. All this stuff is not interesting, and you should ignore it. The interesting stuff starts here. It's load CSS. It's a function that dynamically loads style sheets. It's pretty straightforward. There is nothing complicated here. We just dynamically embed style sheet link into our page. the one tricky part is that browser, there is no way to know when if style sheet already loaded or not, and we need to know that, and we use some tricky hack to. So what the hack is? We add this style to the end of the CSS style sheet, and in this code we constantly check if we create a test element with the cart loaded style, with the cart loaded ID, and for every 10 milliseconds we check if this style has been applied or not. If this style hasn't been applied, then probably style sheet not yet has been loaded. And as soon as we see that this rule has been applied, we know that our style sheet has been successfully loaded. And if we also we also check for a timeout. So if timeout exceeded and there is no yet, and this rule not yet appeared, we suppose that our style sheet, we suppose that there is some error and our style sheet hasn't been loaded successfully, and report error. Now let's go to the loading JavaScript resource. Also very similar code here. We just create a script element and inject it into page. And thankfully there is a way to know when script has been loaded. Browser let us know about it by using these two event handlers. And but sadly it doesn't provide us information when if there is some error and script hasn't been loaded. So we using similar technique, we set timeout, and if our script has been loaded successfully within that timeout, we suppose that there is error and report about it. So we have two functions, load CSS and load JS, and one more tricky place is how to load jQuery. Loading jQuery is different from loading other scripts, because in most cases it's already has been loaded, and we don't need it to load it twice. So in this function we check if jQuery already loaded, and if it's loaded we just continue. But if it's not has been already loaded, then we load it and wait till it will be loaded, and only then continue. Now here is the code that loads all assets needed by the cart widget using those two functions, load CSS and load JS. So first we require jQuery, and set our local variable our local jQuery sign to jQuery, and when jQuery loaded we also load other scripts. So let's go next. And here, if you remember, here is the our previous code. Our original code, and this is just boilerplate, some non-interesting details. Here is the interesting detail. We in our initialize function, our initialize function called right after our cart widget. And in our initialize function, we call load resources, wait for it, wait when it will be finished, and when it's finished, we just execute our old code from mockup. Create cart and show it. So let's try it one more time. So it works. I'd like to. There is a little, maybe not very well-known helpers. One of it called fork and another called bind. In short, it's just handy little things that simplify writing event asynchronous code. You might take a look at it in more details, or can just ignore it as you wish. So in this step, we created very important thing. We significantly simplified for end user how to embed our widget. Right now, all that he needs to do right now is to just embed one script and set a couple of options.